Hello boyos, Rich Boy J here back in with another video, and this is yet another installment of collecting every LEGO Star Wars minifigure ever created. If you're not familiar with the series, it's basically what I just said. I'm trying to collect all the LEGO Star Wars minifigures. This will include rare figures like the Chrome C-3PO or the white Boba Fett. This will not include those ultra rare minifigures made of rare earth minerals like the bronze Boba Fett or anything like that. This episode I'm really excited for because it is brought to you almost exclusively by Brickplumber. He was very nice to send me over a pretty great batch of figures. Like, these are some pretty incredible figures I have from him. And I'm not going to stall anymore. Let's jump right into the figures. So, starting up first, we got ourselves some prequel boys. We got the original Sebulba. This thing's kind of interesting. Like, the mold isn't bad or anything. I think the newest one is obviously far more superior. But, like, for back then, the mold is actually pretty good. Like, I'm actually quite impressed by it. It obviously has no printing, which is probably the biggest detriment to this figure, but otherwise, I like it. I think it's a pretty good starting point for Sebulba. Moving on to the middle, we have what might be the most hideous LEGO Star Wars minifigure ever created. It's the Clone Wars Palpatine. It's nice to get Sheev in his swole Episode 3 outfit. Looks like Brickplumber actually threw on a custom waist cape for him, so I'll probably end up taking that off, but it looks kind of useful. Maybe, I don't know, throw that on like a custom Galactic Marine or something like that. I don't know, looks cool though. And if we move over one more, we got ourselves a Magna Guard. I'm actually excited to have this. This is the first one of these that I have ever owned, which is kind of surprising. I always liked them from the film. I really liked them from the LEGO Star Wars video game. And I'm pretty excited to have one of these guys in my collection. I'm probably going to need to get some parts to give him his actual weapon, but I honestly might actually have those on hand. We'll have to see about that. But otherwise, I like the figure quite a bit. Wish I had a few more of these guys. Can have them flanking our boy General Grievous. So I'm going to set those guys aside. Next up, we got ourselves a pair of Han Solos. These are some of the original Han Solos. I think this one actually is the original Han Solo. It's from A New Hope, and he has the blue pants, the very bright blue pants. This is actually not a cheap minifigure, so I'm glad that I didn't have to purchase it, that Brickplumber was so nice to contribute it to the minifig wall. On the other side, it's basically the exact same figure, except he has brown pants, so it's like his Return of the Jedi style with, of course, the robe. One of the interesting things I always found about these figures is that he had the white shirt underneath, but they elected to give him the tan arms. It just, I don't know, it kind of throws me off. I'm not the biggest fan of that. I'm not sure at the time how it would have looked if they printed tan on yellow, but I don't imagine it would have looked particularly bad. I mean, I think it would probably match up better with the arms, but my guess is that it was too close to the actual chest color, which I guess is understandable, but I feel in that case, just give them white arms, at least be consistent with it. But other than that, I do like these figures, glad to have them, the original Han Solos. They bring warm feelings to my heart. Next up, we got ourselves a couple of Lukes. Well, an actual Luke and what has been often alluded to as probably Luke. I mean, it's probably Luke. I think I remember reading in the visual dictionary about this is the T-16 Skyhopper pilot from that original set, and I don't know, I think they mentioned that, it's probably Luke, they kind of hinted towards it. And I mean, it probably is. If you look at the mounts on these two figures, they're exactly the same. So I would say whenever this figure was made, it was probably made under the impression of it being Luke. But all in all, I like it. There is actually considerable amount of detail in the torso that I wasn't really expecting. You can see there's some lines in there. I didn't know that was actually on there, so it's cool to have that. And then moving over, we have one of the more elusive Luke Skywalker figures, and this is the original Dagobah Luke. I think I'd be far more hype about this if that Dagobah set hadn't come out last year, but still pretty excited to have this figure. This is not a cheap figure by any means. It came in, well, I think it was the second X-Wing Starfighter that came out. Also came bundled with Yoda's hut. I actually remember having, I guess, somewhat fond memories, not really fond memories with this figure. Specifically, whenever I would go to Toys R Us, this was probably around 2006. and they still had the display up of that X-wing that came with this figure in Yoda's hut. And I always like wanted the set because for one, I wanted an X-wing, but I also wanted Yoda's hut. They had the display out, but they never actually had the set in stock. And I remember asking one time, like, can I just buy the display? Like, it's there, it's been there for forever, and you guys have not had the set in forever. And that was before I knew that they glued the sets. If I knew it was glued, I definitely wouldn't have wanted it. But the guy was telling me no, like he can't sell it. And I was just very bummed out by that. So many years later, I'm glad to finally have this figure. And yeah, it's a really, really cool figure. I mean, I think the newest one is definitely an upgrade to it. But I don't know what it is about those Empire Strikes Back figures that were just make them so elusive. They were so few and far between. But glad to have these guys. And finally, we have the most expensive lineup of figures in this group, and it is a group of Leias. Man, I am just beyond excited to have these guys. So starting on the right side, it's the original Leia in her A New Hope outfit, buns in the hair. Not really much to say about it. I'm glad to have it. Up until now, the only version of like the yellow skin tone A New Hope Leia I had was the most recent one that came out as one of the commemorative figures, so to immediately get the one that's not commemorative is nice. Moving on to the middle, we have Leia in her prisoner/slave outfit, depending on what you like to call it. And it's the yellow skin tone, which is actually kind of an expensive figure as well, so glad that I have this one. There was 3 Jabba sets. This may have come in the Jabba's Palace set, the original Jabba's Palace, I believe. And yeah, it's a pretty cool figure, I suppose. The one that I actually had gotten when I was younger was the one that came in the original Jabba sail barge, I believe. And it was basically a reprint of this figure on flesh tone skin, and they gave her not this hair, they gave her different hair, which was, I don't know. I'm glad that nowadays she has that custom hairpiece. I think the most recent prisoner/slave Leia is just a wonderful, magnificent, great detailed figure. But yeah, happy to have this one as well. And if we move over to the leftmost side, this one, I was shocked when he offered to give me this one because this is the Leia from the original Cloud City set. Not a cheap figure at all. And I'm so glad that I have it. This makes me so happy. Like, shout out to Brickplumber. Man, I'm just so happy to have this figure. Yeah, so this is the original Leia from that Cloud City set. Another elusive figure, like I said before, those elusive Empire Strikes Back figures. They cost a lot of money. But my goal is to eventually have all those figures from the Cloud City set. This is a very great first step, considering I didn't have to pay a ridiculous price for this figure. And I'm just so excited to put this on the wall. There is like a big gap in my wall where all of those figures from that Cloud City set would go. And now I can start, like trying to fill it in piece by piece, little by little. And hopefully, moving forward, I can get a hold of a couple of those other expensive figures, like the Luke from Bespin, or even that original Cloud City Lando. So now let's look at our slate of figures that need to be added to the wall. And here is today's slate. You can see we basically have all the Brickplumber figures on that side, and we got a few others over here. These are really just some that, I don't know, I was using for some reason where I took them off the wall to check something out, and I need to put back on the wall. These are not new figures. Unfortunately, still have not resolved the issue of like spacing and the minifig wall, so there are a few figures that are newer that are still not on the wall, but I'm still trying to decide exactly what I want to do with that. But let's go ahead and jump right to the time lapse, and let's get these rare boys put on the wall. Ah, yes, another update to the wall. So glad to see these guys up here. So, because of the figures he sent me, Brickplumber, namely, I got a lot of the spaces up top filled, which I'm super stoked for. For example, we finally got that original Han Solo up there. Got ourselves the original Leia as well. That Skyhopper pilot looking good in red right there. And this area is the one I was specifically talking about, where a lot of those Cloud City figures are. So that's where they would have been. I finally have one. That makes me so happy. You guys have no idea. Also got that Dagobah Luke right there. Man, I'm just very happy with the way that the wall is coming along. So that's really the bulk of the update. I filled in a few spaces down here with some figures that I had taken off, like those two pilots. Got Luke right there, and Biggs chilling over there by his droid. But one of my points of emphasis moving forward, and kind of what I'm thinking about, I'm honestly thinking I'm not going to worry so much about shifting the wall quite yet. Like, I'm obviously going to buy a lot of the figures. Well, I'm going to buy all the sets anyways. So I guess I'll just keep accumulating figures that would go down there. But I think I want my primary focus to be still just filling in a lot of those holes up top. And I think that's a worthy thing to invest my time in. Down the line, I know I'm going to end up having to update this wall and shift it. So, I mean, if I want to do it, it does not hurt me to wait longer, because I'm going to basically be in a situation where maybe I'll have more clarity on how much more space I'll need to keep this thing going. But I don't want to be constantly shifting it, trying to keep up with the figures that LEGO is releasing. I'd rather focus my attention on just getting more figures to fill up the top. And then once the top is more full, I can worry about a lot of the things going on at the bottom. So let me know what you guys think about that approach. I'm still trying to reconcile exactly how I want this to go. But I'm happy with it so far. I think that I wish I had like a side-by-side picture I could show you guys from like where this wall started to where it is now. It is considerably more full now than it was before. So I'm definitely making progress on it, trying to buy many figures. I think in terms of how many figures I'm missing, I'm probably still like maybe 150, 200 short of having all of them. So yeah, got a long journey to go, but I'm hoping you guys are enjoying taking this ride with me, because I know I am. So that's going to finish up the video, guys. I always say, if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button. Shout out to Brickplumber for all his help and basically this entire update. Wouldn't have had any figures for this update if it weren't for him. So shout out to him for that, and your contributions will not be forgotten.